Last year I visited some friends in Nashville and we went to a thrift store, and when I walked by the register I noticed a little Afterpay logo on the screen, and it's safe to say I was mind blown because there was nothing in this store worth buying, let alone financing. Buy now, pay later is the perfect service for people who want to have their cake, eat it, and pay for it over the next 6 weeks. And it has been heavily in the news, especially since over 60% of Coachella attendees use Klarna to buy their tickets. Forbes called this the boom of the YOLO economy, which makes perfect sense when you realize the generation they were surveying. And while that Yoga Bagapa set did look fire, it does start to feel like the bar for what we're willing to finance has dropped to the floor. But this definitely isn't new. Payment plans on large purchases have been a thing for a while, but the recent innovation came when a few companies, in their noble pursuit of making as much money as humanly possible, decided that it would be best to bring payment plans to everything. To let you breathe, let you spread it out, pay in 4, pay in 6, heck, pay in 48 if you want. And that leads us straight into our new show, Can You Finance That? It's the game where we'll run down a list of everything you could want to spend money on ever in the world and ask the question, can you? But wait, there's a twist. The answer is always yes. Yeah, you can do it on pretty much anything. Fun game, right? Every influencer's merch, every vacation booking website, even at KFC, I had more trouble finding places that didn't offer some sort of buy now, pay later, or heaven forbid I forget to use it, and then my credit card, which is already letting me buy now and then pay later, will offer it after the fact. And I realize that I come from the very privileged position of never having to worry about my next meal or any basic necessity. I would never shame someone for using this to meet a dire need, but there is so much shame in making payments on podcasting equipment. And that's the problem with these buy now, pay later companies. They are most definitely not posing themselves as a last resort. All their websites are just big compiled stores to shop for things that you can't afford or maybe shouldn't even be buying in the first place. And this can trap you in a constant cycle of owing money on experiences or things that you've already experienced, and now you're still paying it off instead of saving for the next one. Because I wanna book this Airbnb now, but I don't have the money for it now, so I'll pay a little bit now and figure out the rest later. That's future John's problem, and he's gonna hate me anyways. Then there's this whole other category of cash spotting apps. I deleted Instagram last year because I'm better than you, and because I was becoming chronically addicted to Reels, but that's besides the point. When I was still on there, my entire feed, I mean like every third post, was an ad for one of these cash spotting apps. At best, the ads were just a nice calming beat with some text that just says, hey dude, we'll give you some money. And then on the other hand, you have the content creators. They are desperately trying to make borrowing money quirky and relatable with trends and dances. And it must be working because it is impossible to overstate how many of these ads I was getting. The most popular ones I've seen are Earnin, Clover, and Chime, but my favorites go by more friendly names like Albert, Cleo, Bridget, Dave. Because I'm not borrowing money from the big scary bank. I'm borrowing money from my friend Albert. Albert would never charge me monthly fees or ask for tips, right? Or Clover won't leverage insights from my data to trusted institutions. They have a cool website. People with cool websites don't do bad stuff. Right, guys? And just like buy now, pay later, using a cash spotting app is not the end of the world. The big problem is the marketing, trying to make it seem like this is the norm, like it's some fun, relatable challenge we're all doing. The borrowing $100 for a night out challenge. Both cash spotting and buy now, pay later just prey on a generally younger audience that either doesn't know any better or doesn't care. But it's not just these new versions of predatory loans that are ending ownership. It's also starting to feel like everything that you used to be able to buy has become some sort of membership or subscription. I've never used a green screen before. I have no idea what I'm gonna put back there, but should be cool. I think it's safe to say we're living in the future, the age of paying $20 a month to borrow everything, because why would I buy something once when I can pay for it now and again and again and again? Subscriptions have long existed in forms like newspapers and the milkman, but just in the past decade, the subscription economy grew by over 400%, and a group of surveyed Americans averaged over $200 a month spent just on subscriptions, which is almost definitely going to keep growing because greed. Every business that used to let you buy something would far rather take a little bit of money from you every month forever. The first thing that probably comes to mind when you think of subscriptions is streaming, like music, movies, TV. And here's where I have my first positive take of the video. Those are all worth it, as long as you use them, of course. $150-ish a month for access to basically any song you could ever want to listen to. I mean, you can't beat it. I listened to over 2,000 different songs last year, and even if I bought a fraction of those, it would still be significantly more expensive. And music is very important to me. It's the only way I'm making it through a run, a drive, work, life. And does that mean that I'm a little too dependent on it? Sure, but you'd have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands if you want to take that away from me. And if you're like me and you're still on your parents' plan for free, then you've won. You've won the game. Just keep doing what you're doing. Hope they don't notice. Movies and TV are a little different. It just used to be so simple. Like $8 a month for Netflix. You had pretty much anything you could want to watch, all without ads, in the same app, and wow. That did not last long. Now, everyone has their own streaming service, and they each want their own $20 a month. And while it's still better than cable, I think we can all agree that that is not saying much. It's almost like if you had to pay a separate subscription for each genre of music you wanted to listen to. And I say that as a joke, but it actually doesn't sound that far-fetched now. Hopefully they just haven't thought of that. On top of that, it feels like Google will just straight up lie to you about what is or isn't on, say, Netflix, which might lead a certain person to pay for Netflix to watch a certain movie just to find out it was removed. I didn't need to watch it again. I just don't like being lied to. You can also pay anywhere from $3 to $40 a month to become a premium member of Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, Reddit, any of the social platforms. If you're stupid, it just baffles me that anyone would pay social media to ruin your life when they'll happily do it for free. The prestigious blue check mark used to be this elite status symbol only given to the most prominent public figures, and now it's just a symbol of someone wasting their money. But do not get me wrong, I would happily give YouTube any amount of money they wanted to never see a YouTube short again. Like I said, I already had to delete every other social media app from my phone because my brain was going hollow. But I thought the YouTube app could stay. I thought it was good background noise that still let me be somewhat productive. And that was true until they did this fun new update where every time I open the app, it defaults to shorts. And without fail, I fall right back into doom scrolling like I've learned nothing. This is truly a discipline issue. I don't blame creators for making them. Heck, I'm probably gonna make some to promote this video. Don't hate the player, but the game just used to be so good. Strava is also basically just another social media app, thinly veiled as a running app. I've been using it really just to prove to my friends that I do run sometimes. But to see basically anything beyond that, you have to pay $12 a month. But that $12 does get you access to so many cool charts, and I just know I would run faster if I had them. Strava has also mastered the gamification of running. They'll give you these little fun medals whenever you set a new PR, fastest 5K, 10K, half marathon, whatever. But then sometimes you'll have what feels like the most average run of your life, and you check Strava and it's like, hey dude, you just won 4 medals. And right as I'm booking my ticket to the next Olympics, because this is way too easy I didn't even break a sweat. I click on the workout and realize that it was a PR for the street that I was running on. I don't want your pity medals, Strava. This is the 5th time I've run down this road. We're not gonna celebrate bronze. But those subscriptions are just the tip of the iceberg. A little Meta Verified, a little Strava Premium. What do you think this is? Amateur hour? No. This is the Remarkable Paper Pro, which is basically just a dumbed down iPad for note-taking without all the iPad kid distractions, even though it's almost the same price as an iPad. And I'd hope that if you're taking away my ability to slide some reels in the corner that I'd at least be getting a pretty good discount. Anyways, as I've been researching them, they've been serving me some very pretentious ads.
The first time I tried Remarkable, I thought, wow, imagine if I had this before I gave my TED Talk.
Yes, I was just thinking the same thing. Imagine if I had this before I gave my TED Talk. So relatable. Or should I say, remarkable. But I actually didn't find this remarkable thing through their own marketing. I found it through an ad that I got about 30 million times for a company called Flowick. And finally, on the 30 millionth and 1th time, I got curious and clicked it. And at first glance, you'd probably think that they invented this tablet. Or maybe it was a competitor or some other different type of iPad paper thing. I mean, they have their mission statement about how they streamline your work, when in reality, this is just a separate company that lets you subscribe to a Remarkable. So the only thing they're streamlining is $49 out of your bank account every month. They also have some exciting new products coming to their roster, like Bose headphones and a Lenovo laptop, but those have been coming soon since last spring, so I'm starting to lose hope here. Then finally, all the way down in their FAQ, they say that they are a subscription service to the world's best reading and writing devices, which is not looking good for my headphones. Come on, guys, did we forget about those? And since I found them, Flowick is now working with Whim, and both of those are run by Fragile? Hopefully all three of them can come together and come up with one decent company name. Fragile is quietly behind a bunch of different brands to help them offer subscriptions for everything from gaming PCs to digital license plates and robot vacuums that clean your house but also leak all of your data. And then through Whim specifically, you get access to subscriptions to anything from Nespresso makers to alarm clocks to DJ equipment and a Ninja ice cream maker. Oh, and they have the headphones. I was looking for those. On their website, of course, we see girl ordering stuff on her phone from Whim, and look how happy she looks, and she's definitely real, and she's definitely happy, and she loves women. Oh no. Oh, no. But the thing that makes me the most irrationally angry about Whim is that they use the Fortnite V-Buck method, where instead of spending $5 directly on a skin, you spend $85 on 13,000 V-Bucks, because that's the best value, of course, and then you spend some of those V-Bucks on the skin. So it doesn't feel like you spent any real money, because it was just V-Bucks, and you didn't spend any real money, because it was your mom's credit card. Yeah, that's how Whim works. You don't spend any real money. You just sign up to buy some random amount of Whim credits on a monthly basis and spend those on a whim. And they don't easily convert to any real currency, of course, which is probably intentional because it obscures the fact that you're still spending a very real $43 to rent that massage gun. I think the only responsible reason to use a service like this would be to maybe test some obscure product before you decide if you want to buy it. But that logic completely falls apart when you realize that you could probably just buy the thing, and then if you don't like it, you could just return it. Unless you could give me some other reason you need to rent a GoPro. I'll wait. Actually, I won't. The start of the new year means New Year's resolutions. I wrote this in January of 2025. But no one knows New Year's resolutions better than Planet Fitness. Now I know it's not exactly fair to lump a gym membership in with like Spotify, because it's way easier to buy some vinyls or CDs than to build a fully functioning home gym. But I had to include them because the way they do business is just weird. And we are talking about things that you don't own. And I think it's pretty safe to say that you don't own a Planet Fitness, the gym that sponsors the hats of all the cold, wet, depressed people that choose to stand in Times Square on New Year's Eve. They are ready to get you in the gym for just $1. But after January, it jumps to $15 a month, and then you tack on a $49 annual fee, which doesn't really make any sense, as why wouldn't you just add that to the monthly fee? And turns out the whole $1 thing is actually just a lie. It's $1.07. Am I nitpicking a little bit? Yeah, I'll stop. Because that's still fine. Like $19 a month for access to the training grounds of purebred athletes that will keep you motivated all year long to keep working out is so worth it. Oh wait, it says here that 80% of new members stop going within 5 months. And over 3/5 of people that pay for a gym membership don't actually use it. So Planet Fitness might claim to want to help you stick to your goals when in reality their business kind of needs you to fail. The average Planet Fitness has over 6,000 paying members per gym when the gyms themselves typically only accommodate like 300 people at a time. So whether you're scared away by the crowds or your lack of commitment, the end of the year rolls around, you're nowhere closer to your goals, and you're out hundreds of dollars. Unless, of course, you thought to cancel your membership. Great idea. You'd think it'd be super easy. You could do it online the same way you signed up. Yeah, no. You either have to fill out a form in person with the manager so they can shame you, or mailing cancellation to your home gym. So it would be easier to fake my own death because I hate confrontation and I have no idea how stamps work. But besides gyms, health products as a whole are still a huge part of this subscription mess. It feels like every day there's some new gimmicky thing that's supposed to make me live till I'm 100, which sounds like a threat if you ask me, because I don't even want that. But they're still interesting to look at. For example, the 8 Sleep Pod 5 is a system that turns your boring, stupid, normal bed into a cool, smart bed, all for the low price of $5,000. And price aside, this thing seems really awesome. I'd probably buy one if I was less responsible with my money. It automatically heats and cools. It can vibrate or change temperature to force you out of bed in the morning. It tracks your sleep. And it has surround sound. Not too sure why it needs that, but I could find a few uses. But don't get too used to those features, because if you want to keep them around, you'll have to pay at least $199 a year. It seems like the only thing the bed can do without the subscription is manually adjust the temperature, which is for losers. And that's gotta feel like a slap in the face, especially when you've already spent $5,000 for it. I also find it a bit shady that when you click on reviews, you're redirected to their wall of love, which is just articles, celebrity endorsements, and some hand-picked tweets about how life-changing the bed is without a single critique or complaint in sight. And trust me, they do exist. They're just one Google search away. And 8 Sleep has a pretty similar cult-like following to the Oura Ring, which is another health monitoring device that's very expensive, but you also get to pay $70 a year to get access to any useful information from it. But don't worry, you get your first month on them, so take like $6 off. What a deal. And then you have Whoop bands. These are in the same health wearable group as the Oura Ring, except with this, the subscription includes the band itself. So like the entire product. So if you stop paying, I guess they just repossess the band or your wrist or your arm, whichever they get to first. But you do get to keep their ugly t-shirt you bought for $60. They don't want that back, and I don't blame them. Whoop's top of the line band is $360 a year, and it's got the same features as any other health tracking band. The only standout difference with this one is that it doesn't have a screen, which you might think is just a way for them to cheap out, make their money back faster, but you'd be wrong. That's the biggest feature. It's called distraction-free design. The Whoop doesn't want to annoy you with unnecessary information like the current date and time. No. They want to free you up to focus on more important things, like the app on your phone. Now I get not wanting a bunch of notifications right there on your wrist, but making you wear 2 watches like a freak just to know what time it is feels like a bit of a stretch. Speaking of stretching, there's also no way to manually start or stop activity tracking, which is a very common feature on most of these devices. Instead, they use a feature that just automatically tracks, which has yielded some very interesting results. Apparently, you can also wear it on your ankle, although I would be very cautious of doing that in public. Just might raise some concern. So in desperately searching for any reason to spend $30 a month on this thing, I came across their personalized coaching and thought, hey, that makes sense. If they're hiring specialized trainers to look at your data and give you personalized feedback, that might add some value. And then I found out that it's just an AI chatbot. So not really sure if that adds value. If anything, that might kill some value. Definitely kill some water.
That's for sure. And one of their other big selling points for it being a subscription was that you would get upgraded every time a new band would come out. They would swap you to the latest one, but they ended that about a year ago. And while it did seem to stir some rage, their community of chronic overshares is still going strong. So now I think we're seeing the trend here with health tech where you either buy the thing and you think you own the thing, but for it to be worth using, you have to keep paying for it, or you don't buy the thing and then you're constantly paying rent just to keep a band on your wrist, and 3 years later, whoops, that's a lot of money. I mean, next thing you know, people are going to be subscribing to live in a house. Wait a second. And all this begs a few questions. Mainly, why? Why should I pay recurring fees to use a glorified Fitbit or speakers that are already physically built into my bed? And why are these products better than their competitors that don't require subscriptions? And most importantly, why is this guy outside now? I'll actually answer that one first. I just had to get out of that room. But the answer to the other two is really just marketing. It's mainly marketing. The cheaper health trackers aren't endorsed by famous DJs, which is deeply disappointing because we all know DJing is an intense sport that is all about putting the right things in your body and getting a good night's sleep. And the cheaper mattress cover without a subscription just isn't the same one that Joe Rogan uses, and I cannot sleep on that. Now, I'm not here to argue that all of these services, financing or subscriptions are scams, because that just simply wouldn't be true. Most of them are pretty clear about what you're getting into, and they do offer some sort of value, with a few exceptions. But the real question to ask yourself here is, are you getting true value out of these products that have decided to demand a constant drip out of your bank account? The biggest problem with subscriptions and memberships is simply that people just forget about them. They may seem really small on their own, but they add up very quickly. For example, the same group that spent over $200 a month on subscriptions estimated that they only spent like 80. If you want to stay on top of your subscriptions, you can use one of the many apps that will help you track and cancel them, but most of those are also subscriptions, so pick your poison, I guess. And the main problem with buy now, pay later, lowering the bar for what we're willing to finance, is that it's just a band-aid on the plague of overspending. And this isn't a problem solely to blame on inflation or income inequality. Not that those aren't problems, of course, but it is proven that making more money doesn't necessarily reduce overspending like you'd think it would. Honestly, at first glance, buy now, pay later seemed too good to be true. Because it was. Most buy now, pay later services don't charge interest, which might make it seem like they're just in it for the love of the game, out of the goodness of their heart, which is absolutely not true. Buy now, pay later services are selling your sale to the merchant, and the merchants only begrudgingly pay those fees because it works. They get more sales when people who technically can't afford to buy their stuff can still buy it. And now some of the biggest payment processors have the feature on by default. So honestly, round of applause for some of the influencers and brands and stores that seem to have opted to turn it off. Great job, guys. Now I know that I'm not even touching on financing things like housing or cars, because that's a whole other can of worms, and worms are gross. But stretching yourself thin for, say, a concert ticket can make those purchases way more difficult than they already are these days. So I feel like a pretty good solution for most of the stuff we talked about in this video is, if you want something, but you can't afford to buy it, maybe you just don't need it. But one thing you should definitely subscribe to is this YouTube channel, so you don't miss my next video where I leverage my house to DoorDash a burrito. Bye.